Hi, my name is Anjal Niraula, and today I'd like to welcome you to the fourth episode of our Let's Talk Battery series. And today I have with me Mr. Madhusudhan Adhikari, the Executive Director of AEPC, to share his insights on energy storage and its implications on Nepal's electricity network here with us. Welcome, Madhusudhan, sir.
Thank you, Anjanji. Nice to be here. I'm very delighted to talk to you on this new technology, so battery storage technology.
Absolutely. Before we begin, could we maybe start with short introduction about yourself and AEPC?
Yeah, I'm Madhusudhan Adhikari, currently Executive Director of AEPC, but I worked in energy sector more than 30 years. First 15 years I worked in big hydro, and then last 15 years in renewables in different countries. And currently I'm last 3 years Executive Director of AEPC. And AEPC is the institution created in 1996. At the time when AEPC was established, the energy access, modern energy access, especially electricity access, was very low in the country. So this special purpose vehicle was established to expedite in parallel with the national grid to mobilize local resources to have modern energy access, electricity plus cooking fuels and all. So in this 25 years journey, we have reached to around 3.6 million households with some kind of technology, especially and 20 these out of 3.6 million, half of them got the first time introduction to electricity, so they got the electricity access, and half of them, around 2 million, got the improvised their cooking technologies and fuel. So major two technologies, and then in subcategories we have lot of other subdivision on that.
Absolutely. So from what you described, it seems that AEPC has done amazing work throughout remote Nepal in promoting renewable energy. But for a person living in Kathmandu, why do you think distributed renewable energy should matter, and why should an average Ram Bahadur in Nepal care about distributed renewable energy solutions?
Yeah, it's a very interesting question you have raised. First of all, as a nation, we all want to have modern facilities. Not only me, my fellow Nepali brothers and sisters should have equal opportunity to have the access. And electricity and modern energy is a vehicle in current era which opens up the door for many other development aspects, especially with the explosion of these internet facilities. You can get connected to the world with internet system if you have electricity in your home or you are in the vicinity of electricity. That's the macro agenda. But in the micro agenda also, when to me in Kathmandu, connected to national grid, if this grid is stretched beyond its capacity to all areas and the power supply is not constant, then I also get affected. So the quality of the grid, we are connected by the same grid. So enhancing the quality of national grid by deploying distributed generation system, whether in Kathmandu or in urban areas or in the rural areas, eventually add up to the quality of the national grid, which eventually benefit to everyone. So no matter whether you are an urban citizen or semi-urban citizen or rural citizen connected to the grid, if the grid quality is enhanced, then you are in better position to get the reliable and quality electricity. So it matters to everyone.
Oh, so I think like the point you make here is reliable electricity,
yes.
Right? So
yes.
I think we might have access to electricity even as a citizen in Kathmandu.
Yeah.
But the fact that despite the conversation around excess supply, we still have power cuts. We
Yeah.
still have voltage issues,
Yes.
right? And that's where distributed renewable energy can definitely help.
Okay.
But let me move into storage a little
Yeah.
bit, right?
Yeah.
And can you tell us a bit more about like how storage could help increase reliability and also proliferation of some of these distributed renewable energy systems?
Yes, it's if you see the pattern of electricity consumption, our production, our supply and demand is not matching till date. We have certain production and certain usage pattern. Especially in our cases, our 50% of the energy, electricity goes to domestic lighting and household activities, which is primarily done when there is no sunlight. So our household consumption is basically in evening, when you spend around 6 to 10 p.m. hours with electricity in your household work, and in the morning 5 to 7. So these two time period are the peak time for electricity consumption in the household use. And at the same time, we definitely want to run the industry and commerce as well. We are starting to grow work in the late evenings also, so people start to consume electricity in the commercial and industrial sector also. So there is always a question that the production in the peak hour, our supply system is bottleneck, is short supply of power in particular time of the day. So we have to have some intermittent storage facility when we need more power, especially in the evening, to supply from there. So currently we are doing it with the kind of diesel supply. You can see everywhere, no matter whether it's a hotel or the industry or commerce, you must have a diesel backup for your peak power, especially for peak time in the evening. But you also have irregular power cuts where you need to back up your system. So if you have the battery which is coming up as a less polluting and more efficient solution than diesel generator, then we are now exploring how can we replace all the diesel backup, at least in the beginning, to manage our peak shortage. So the concept of incorporating charging battery when you have surplus power, after maybe late evening after 11, you might have surplus electricity, which can be easily stored in the battery from 11 to 4 in the morning. Then you can use it again in the evening. So battery is a new concept to replace the traditional diesel genset or the power, we used to call it the load shedding hours, to brighten our load shedding hours with a better technologies.
Absolutely. It seems like batteries are not only adding reliability, but it's definitely greener than diesel generator that we operate, and also like more cost effective if designed properly, right? So it may have a lot of advantages. But during this whole process, right, so while we're talking about batteries, can we talk about batteries in isolation without talking about the electricity grid? And if we have to talk about electricity grid, what role do you think NEA has to play in proliferation of these technologies besides AEPC also?
Yeah, AEPC and NEA, we are in the different roles, especially in the scale of the intervention. We do small scale intervention in the remote areas. As we discussed, in the remote areas, first last decade people use mostly in the rural area solar home system, which is also a battery storage, a small home-based electricity generating system from solar energy. That was very popular, and worldwide this solution has gave us the miracle to the people that you cannot, you do not have to stay in a dark. The isolated battery has revolutionized to remove the darkness. But now the question comes, it's not individual system we are powering by battery, which is popular, which backup people still keep in the urban setting also, small inverter and battery, just in case there is a power, unscheduled power cut. I think every house in Kathmandu has that small battery inverter system as a backup for the lighting. But now the time has come that we think bigger scale batteries, because I think Nepalese experience also tells that you can store electricity, energy in few systems. Either you have to have a hydro dam, or you have to have a diesel, petrol, fuels, or you have battery options. Something like these 3-4 are most common storage for the energy. But diesel fuel, we are abandoning it because it's not sustainable and it's not climate friendly. So we don't talk about diesel anymore. So we have two alternatives. the large storage project or distributed small new technologies.
Yes.
It could be battery, or
Yes.
it could be any new technology coming in future, I don't know.
Yeah.
So when you talk about large storage project, you can take the example of Nepal. We have been talking one single project for many years. So that signals that it's not easy to construct large storage hydro project.
Yes.
So taking the benefit of the reducing cost of the technology, easy to deploy, time factors, I think the currently last decade has been exploring what could be the battery solution. Once this new battery technology came, this lithium ion variation and the flow batteries and other batteries coming, this has opened up that maybe we can have alternative to hydro storage.
Yeah.
Maybe we don't eliminate hydro storage.
Yeah.
We take small scale storage solution by battery
Yeah.
till our large storage comes in the picture. So in Nepal, I think if you start now also, there are a couple of hydro storage projects under discussion, but at least we will have to wait for 10 more years when this project will be connected to the grid. So our challenge is, do we still wait 10 years to commission one large storage and still keep on buying from India? Mostly it's a coal-based technology coming from India, and we have plus and minus of this import and export of electricity. So I think, in my opinion, my experience is, the time has come that NEA explores where they are very poor in the quality of power supply, put up some grid connected solar storage, so they can charge their battery in the off peak hours and connect this battery in the peak hours. So especially in the western part of the country where generation facilities are less, I think there could be a couple of very nice locations where your battery storage will give you a good justification in the cost, of course in the quality of the battery, quality of grid supply. So NEA should explore that, and AEPC can help NEA to do some pilot, should do some study, case study, to fit them to scale it up. We can do a couple of such sites, but in large scale to improve the grid, NEA has to take
Responsibility.
Yeah.
Also like to dig in a little bit deeper into the potential of collaboration between NEA and AEPC because I've been hearing a lot about how hydro and solar are complementary, and that both of them in tandem would help in ensuring energy security to the country and add more reliability, right? So what could be these options, for hydro and solar to work in tandem? And also, like, when I say solar, I also mean batteries. How could these two technologies interact to provide more reliable electricity and to ensure that our grid is more robust?
Yeah, definitely. I think we have a lot of hydro resources, there is no doubt, and we initially thought before solar came such a competitive in price and technologies upgradation. So definitely solar has posed globally as a option for the energy generation, especially electricity generation. But in case of Nepal, when we have plenty of renewable energy coming from hydro sources, we have to have a balance of both new and the old technology coming in. And I think the role two technology can very clearly play is, when we have no sunlight, we definitely have to have our storage project active. When there is active sunlight in future, we might generate, the whole world may generate electricity from the sun. So same pattern may come to the Nepal also. Of course, the price play a big role on that. Which one will be cheaper for Nepal? That will be again the things we'll analyze. So we have 2-3 options in our contest. We have a lot of runoff river, which is basically can be compared with the solar runoff in the price, because both are runoff. You cannot store it, you have to use when you are generating it. So in a runoff, we have to compare which one is cheaper. I think in today's price also, the solar runoff could be very competitive compared to hydro in terms of your lead time of constructions, and then of course your cost also per kilowatt hour generation may be cheaper from the solar runoff. So in a runoff also we can compare which technology we can use. Then of course it very much fits with the day peaking, when there is a hydro potential which is having day peaking facilities. We can store water for the evening peak hours, but in the off peak hour we can use solar energy. So it's the peaking conditions can be very effectively economically utilized in the peaking hours. And of course in the storage side also, in the peaking hour you can have like pondage storage, we can have a battery storage. The flexibility of solar plus solar battery is it's such a modular. You can place anywhere of any size. It's in the vicinity of your generating sites, vicinity of your substations, and nearby your consumers, on your rooftop, on your room. So this is very, very flexible. It can be deployed very quickly, and it's cost effective. So I think NEA, AEPC working together for last mile electrification. We definitely working with off-grid with the solar solution very much, which is perfectly fitting the situation. In the grid stability and grid quality improvement, I think these complementarities of battery storage, solar and hydro is a best possible renewable energy mix, which could be a model to all the other part of the world also. How can we maximize the benefit of new and old technology together? As we all know, water has multiple use. Water has the drinking water use, irrigation, we need lot of water for irrigation. Maybe we can also think of, if the energy generation came from the solar, we can exporting water as a drinking water. Water is our precious treasure. We can use it in multiple functions or use, whereas solar light can only be converted into electricity. So why not to explore to use more and more solar light, and think wisely to use water, whether it can be absolutely needed for solar electrification or it can be used for other options. So NEA can explore all these possibilities. We are working together. We are in the same ministry, where a lot of cooperation has already been laid out. And then we are also offering NEA because we have a lot of support from development partner also, where we can pilot things. We can have grant support to do some R&D, and we have some specific purpose, like you might have known this, last year we did around 1500 institutional solar system, lighting hospitals, lighting health posts, lighting government offices, lighting community centers, schools of all types. So it's very easy to deploy. And in the Nepalese terrain, where in the mountains you have very difficult situation to transmission, distribution, the way of people, living of people, they want to live sparsely because of their livelihood and all. So in many places, I think NEA need distributed generation, maybe standalone systems, and grid connected solar, grid connected battery only, not solar powered battery. Some places you charge your battery by hydro grid and use in the peak hour. So there are a lot of areas where we can complement by technologies, including the latest thought on battery storage.
Absolutely. I mean, just all great answers. It seems that right from the point of generation,
Yes.
Deploying it directly at where some of the run of the river hydros are being are operating,
Yes.
to your consumers, consumers who are directly using diesel generators, to even like distribution systems in between, like which are congested and there's issues with power evacuation. It seems that storage has big role to play in all these all these chain, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's a great summary. But also, I'd like to also ask you, what could developers, right? So say any developers who want to integrate storage into their, say, your generation asset, or run it as a pilot. If there are any enthusiasts who want to explore storage options in throughout the array of areas that we talked about, how could AEPC support, and what could be possible partnership options for such developers?
Definitely for the small entrepreneurs which always want to play with the new technologies, AEPC in the power sector, energy sector, AEPC has been a support partner for all of them. So we have been doing this. Most of our delivery channels are private sector led, PPP models. and also we also incentivize viability gap funding. We also provide business opportunity to enhance their capacity to the higher scale business. So I think when we talk particularly on this particular new topics of solar storage hydro integration system, we have a couple of projects which are already supporting us to give some BGF, and also to help them design their project, facilitate to the grid connection to the with NEA, and also giving them like some the bank guarantees to convince the investor to finance on all this. So the loan loss provisions, all these things we are also doing, and also basically the main area could be PPP models, where we incentivize, we partner with such enthusiasts so that they can invest with the confidence that the government partnership is there. And now when we talk about the government, we have the multiple layer government, 3 layers of government. I think the last layer, the local governments are very much interested in a small scale solution, where we also have a reach to convince that from the government side we take the backup on your behalf, and you can partner with the private sector so that you can have a reasonable profit, and any investment coming from AEPC can be incentivized or can be the revenue source for the local level government.
Wow, that sounds like quite an incentive.
Yeah.
I sure hope that a lot of projects come online in the future. But as we talk about like all the opportunities, like that we have, I think we also need to talk about the challenges, and especially the challenges batteries pose around environmental needs, right? So I mean, we've all heard that batteries can have a lot of damage to the environment. It's very hard to recycle, is what we've heard. So I mean, have there been any plans from AEPC to address that scenario, like in a context where we end up having a lot of batteries? How do we ensure that they do not harm the environment as much, and how do we just like get all the benefits out of the batteries? How can we ensure that?
Yeah, I think the one weak point, the dark side we always had on the battery issue is when we dominantly using the lead acid batteries, which contain a big amount of lead, which is hazardous. But in a small scale, as the lead inside the battery has the value, so we can have the collection, better collection procedure, and we have been facilitating people to create awareness generation, so that how can they handle their solar home system battery. We had to introduce from AEPC battery voucher. If they collect battery and sell to us, they can get the refund and all. That fund is also there. And just to summarize to that era, we also have a plan to establish a lead acid battery recycling plant. So we have already asked some EOI, and due to some technical reason, the full-fledged proposal is under preparation. But we have definitely in mind to establish one battery recycling plant. But I think when we talk about the bigger scale, the topics of today is battery storage, industrial level battery storage, or grid quality battery storage. Then we are talking of a very defined set of battery located in particular location. So their disposal will not be a problem, because we can have the program inbuilt within the system, how we can dispose battery or replace battery. And others, the technological side also, this battery are not that harm as with the traditional lead acid battery. The lithium ion batteries and other the flow kind of batteries have less hazardous element within the battery. So that is an issue, but I think this is within the control. The world has accepted it. Lead acid batteries are from last 300 years, but we have to have a procedures. But the science has already developed less hazardous batteries, which could be easily managed. But of course, we have to have a plan on our system to how to we handle the batteries.
That was definitely insightful. I think we're coming towards the end of this episode, and before I let you go, I'd love to ask you. Okay, so if there are any storage enthusiasts out there who want to build projects around storage, what could they do?
I think from AEPC, we have one FCDO program that next year we will come up with some feasibility studies where these battery supported grid connected battery storage will add value to the grid, and that definitely gives us some information where this potential investor can invest. That definitely needs to work out with NEA. Because the rate of storage, battery stored electricity will be different than the solar electricity in general people talk. So we need to talk to the NEA. As you see currently we have also experienced the electricity market has become very volatile. You never know what is per kilowatt hour electricity cost when you want it. Yeah. It may be generally available in certain rate, but in your particular interested time, its rate could be very fluctuating. We have also heard a unit of electricity costing around 40 rupees. Yeah. So in that kind of situation, if a battery storage entrepreneur offers electricity in the peak hour, which only costs 20 rupees, 20 rupees sounds high, but compared to 40 rupees, it's half. Exactly. So these things definitely need to be analyzed, and you need to accept it because here they have already seen, they have already paid that power to per kilowatt, means it's nothing new now. Yeah. So only situation when and where you want your electricity, at what price.
Absolutely.
It may be cheaper in different time, in different place, but in that particular time, in that particular place, it will have its own price that everyone has to accept. So if that concept is been understood clearly, I think there is a lot of scope for coming another 5 to 7 years that we have a small scale, I would say small scale distributed. When I say small scale, it's around 1 megawatt hour, 2 megawatt hour kind of thing, not in big, very big one.
Absolutely.
So that you can have your own negotiation with NEA and can demonstrate at that particular time your offer is cheaper to NEA. Yeah. That definitely helps people to justify and make some innovative business in the electricity enterprising scenario.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Madhusudhan sir, for your time and for your insightful answers. I'm pretty sure our viewers will find that very insightful. Thank you so much again for joining us.
Thank you, Anjalji. It's always nice to talk to you. You are a very learned person in this field. We have some common understanding that the new generation should always accept new challenges, always try to play with the new technologies. Unless you agree on that, you will not develop. Energy is the same way, and it's moving. The energy become very different than what we thought in the big utility in the future. I will not surprise after 5 years you will be out of the grid and you have your own system supplying your own house 24/7 with the highest possible quality electricity. That day may come. So we keep on exploring new things and we should accept new challenges. We are in such a situation, privileged situation, that the technologies are granted available to us. We have to make up our mind and accept it and adapt it. So solar storage, clean energy technologies, energy efficiency, these are the new and modern concepts Nepal should always explore, and especially young generation definitely will agree on that we keep on exploring new things. Yeah. Thank you for the time. Thank you for the conversation. It's really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Don't resist change. I think that's the summary of what Madhusudhan sir just said. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.